A new Division I women's soccer poll has been released. There were some shakeups from last poll to this one. It goes as follows: Duke with all 8 first place votes, Wake Forest, Mississippi State, North Carolina, Arkansas, Stanford, St. Clair, TCU, USC, UCLA, Auburn, Notre Dame, Pepperdine, Iowa, Ohio State, Penn State, Memphis, Virginia Tech, Texas Tech, Xavier, Michigan State, Florida State, Virginia, Texas, and Cal. Now, receiving vote teams goes as follows: South Carolina with 20, Rice with 17, Utah State with 15, Georgetown with 11, Washington with 4, Oklahoma State with 3, Vanderbilt with 3, West Virginia with 3, St. Louis with 2, and Pitt with 1. And I'm going to go right ahead and go over RPI because that does matter for those teams that are on the bubble, as well as teams that want to host up to the Elite 8 game potentially. Assuming you do win your round of 32 and round of 16 games. Because there is a difference between being on the road in the Elite 8 game than at home. That does matter. So I'm going to just go over like top 16 first. Here, and it's like North Carolina, Duke, Arkansas, Mississippi State, Wake Forest, Stanford, Iowa, Penn State, Auburn, USC, Florida State, Michigan State, Ohio State, Virginia, UCLA, and TCU. And these are games through October 14th, by the way. So now I'm just going to go over like 35, like really 36 through 60 or 65 or 70 or so. Just keep an eye on some bubble teams, and I get some of these teams are in one bid leagues, so gotta keep that in mind. So it's like Rice, Minnesota, Georgia, Texas Tech, BYU, Western Michigan, Liberty, Washington, Tennessee, Colorado, Baylor, Arizona, UConn, Fairfield, LSU, Army, Ohio, Cal, SMU, Texas A&M, Loyola Chicago, Princeton, Dayton, Buffalo, Creighton, Columbia, Bucknell, UMass, as in Massachusetts, South Florida, aka USF, James Madison, Louisville, Boise State, New Hampshire, Indiana, and Yale. Obviously, if you're one of those one bid leagues, and I did not even mention your school that's lower on RPI, you got to win your conference tournament or regular season in order to think about making the NCAA tournament. And it's not a guarantee. Some conferences do have an NCAA, like a conference tournament, because some of them don't. But if you do, you gotta win it. And that same thing goes for those bubble teams. Win the conference tournament, you're automatically in. You gotta win as many games as possible right here. I mean, especially if you're on the bubble, and you can't have bad losses. And of course, the same thing goes for if you want to be like elite, like host up to the Elite 8 game. You gotta avoid bad losses. I mean, it's just telling the truth, as we all know, because there is a difference between Sweet 16 hosting and Elite 8 hosting. You know, and if you're playing in a ranked opponent, you gotta win that ranked opponent, especially if you're on a bubble. And of course, I don't know how much ties do help, but if you get a tie, I don't know how much. Maybe helps some, just depending on the opponent and everything. And let's just take one example here. Baylor has BYU this week, so a win, the BYU versus Baylor is a huge game for both, for the RPI sake, for the NCAA tournament. And obviously, if there's a tie, I don't know, we'll see how it affects once you update it, once those games are played. And I know then afterwards Baylor plays Utah, but let's be clear, Utah's RPI is not that great. I mean, number 93, and Baylor beat a pretty bad RPI Arizona State team last week, so they need to win that game. Of course, the Iowa State game, but you get the whole point here. You got to take care of teams that you need to beat on RPI no matter what, and can't get RPI get worse, because if it does get worse, you're pushing yourselves onto the bubble and the wrong side of it, potentially. And all this, and winning every game does matter. And of course, when you get to the conference tournament, if you're like one of those not one bid leagues, just make it so far in the conference tournament, and maybe you do make the NCAA tournament, and no matter what type of deal, but you gotta avoid bad losses. Okay, that's enough on the RPI. Now, my top 10 for Division I women's soccer goes as follows. It's similar. Duke, Wake Forest, North Carolina, Mississippi State, Arkansas, Stanford, Santa Clara, TCU, USC, UCLA. Now, outside looking in did change from last week to this week. Auburn, Notre Dame, Pepperdine, Iowa, Ohio State, Penn State, and Memphis in no particular order. There are some top 25 games, but it's mostly like Big Ten from this poll to the next one. Number 15, Ohio State, at number 9, USC. Number 16, Penn State, at number 10, UCLA. Number 25, Cal, at number 12, Notre Dame. Number 25, Number 5, Arkansas, at number 24, Texas. Number 23, Virginia, at number 22, Florida State. Number 6, Stanford, at number 12, Notre Dame. Number 16, Penn State, at number 9, USC. And number 15, Ohio State, at number 10, UCLA. So there's a little bit more of a mixture than I thought, but you get the point. It's mostly like Big Ten and ACC in there more than anything else. We're going to have to wait and see what happens between now and next poll. So anyways, if you like this content, hit the like and subscribe button. See you guys later on the road to 7 subscribers. Of course, ultimate goal. It's 1,000 more, so money out this course. Like a video, comment video, really helps YouTube algorithm so more people see it. Sharing the video does help as well, so more people could watch. And if you're watching and not subscribed, hit subscribe button, free notification bell as well. And I will go over this again next week and the week after, and like on the RPI and the rankings. And I assume they're gonna have like the rankings right before the selection show. But if they do, I'll go over it then in RPI and what needs to happen. And I'm not going to mention it on the conference tournaments, by the way, that do start. Top 25 showdowns, unless if their conference is in a conference tournament. I mean, that school's in a conference tournament, because I'm not going to go over those type of games. But maybe there's some other ones on the list, but we're going to have to wait and see what happens.